Magic players ask the question, what's collectible in the world of Magic the Gathering? Is it serialized cards? Is it old chase cards? Is it the reserve list? What cards are going to hold value? In today's video, we are going to discuss what's going on with these chase cards and what players need to know for the future of these collectibles. Have you bought a Magic card and you've been worried about the value of that card long term, knowing you paid top dollar to buy it, and you're wondering if that card is just going to zero? You're not the only one. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here. Thanks again for hanging out with me on my channel today. And a reminder that if you enjoyed today's content, like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notification bells, new videos every single day. It's an important topic. When you're spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars buying a Magic card, and the reasons behind why you bought that Magic card can really be a determining factor for anything that is a chase card in the world of Magic the Gathering. With all the new serialized cards, neon ink, chase, hard to find, reserve list cards, no matter where you fall in the spectrum of a collector for Magic the Gathering, there's a lot to factor in. And a lot of concerns players have nowadays when they spend top dollar buying something. They don't want to buy a card and have it go to zero. It really does bother players to think that something I want to collect, that I spend a lot of money for, and yes, in the back of your head, you'll tell yourself, yeah, I know it can go to zero, but you don't want it to go to zero. You want to know that when you show that card off to somebody inside of a deck or inside a conversation piece of the back of your house where all your Magic card collection is, you want to know that it's worth something. That other people feel the same as you do, that it is worth something. And this is where the whole serialized card, the chase cards, the neon ink, where all this conversation starts to brew together. Because if I showed someone an old Magic card they'd never seen, they may not understand the concept of the value behind it or why I determine it to have value. When Wizards of the Coast puts these cards out for people, not all of them are going to be hitters. They're not going to be cards that players chase down and try to buy. Others will do very well, though. And it really does show when you look on things like eBay, your local LGS, look what they have in stock, and then look what's actually been selling, and it's a good kind of determining factor at the moment, not long term, but at the moment of what players are after. Let me show you something here. Let me flip up the first screen. So if you show you here are some Doctor Who cards and some Lord of the Rings. These Doctor Who have multiple bidders, 10, 20 bidders on each one, and $200-300 a card. But you look at the Lord of the Rings, right? The Soul Ring there, serialized, and you'll see it's got 49 bidders, and it's up to $1,700. Now, that does not mean, and take it with a grain of salt, yeah, there could be shill bidding, there's all kinds of manipulations that can happen inside the world of eBay. There's other videos that I've discussed this on, so don't take this take it as a grain of salt. Either way, there probably are multiple bidders going for those cards. And the Lord of the Ring it's just more attractive to players. It has a richer franchise history. I'm not going to say that Doctor Who doesn't have a good population base behind it of fans who want to get these cards, but it is obviously not as rich of a price tag to pay. The Lord of the Rings ones are the hot topic. They're what players are after. Whereas something like Doctor Who, people go, oh yeah, Doctor Who, I remember that. Still has a fan base, but maybe not players willing to spend as much money to get those cards. Maybe they're not as playable or desirable or scarce enough to get players on board wanting to collect them. Because it's not just the artwork. It's not just where the card can be used, what formats it can be played in. There are so many things going in now, and this is where Wizards of the Coast they've got a good eye on the market, but I don't think they've got a good eye on the long-term market. So let me show you the second one here. We're going to get this. We're going to roll this through. Here you see Sauron, the serialized numbered 59 of 100, okay? $2,500, no bidders. Then you go across and you look at the Bountiful Dawn, okay? $464 plus some shipping. Nobody's really going for that. And then look at the Mox Amber at the end there. Mox Amber, $246 of 500 for $2,100. No bidding, nobody's bought it. Which means those are not the prices that players are willing to pay. Which means you have to lower your price to sell it. That's not the price it's worth. Because some of these cards are hot for the moment, some will be hot long term. How playable a card is for Magic really will show long term how the card's value goes. Something like Sauron there might be a cool card at the moment, but how much will it get play? How much will that card be desired by players in the future? Mox Amber sees play, but nobody wants to pay $2,100 for that particular serialized version. And there were several other copies up there, all around that same price, that nobody really cares about. Because you can buy that card for $50 right now, which means players don't consider that collectible. Not to the same degree of some of the other Lord of the Rings cards, because let me show you this last one here and you'll get an idea. These like RON, the Witch King of Agmar, you see these serialized cards here. Here are the prices they've actually been selling for. One in November, one in December, and I'll tell you right now, Lord of the Rings is the hot topic for the moment. It is the Beanie Baby of the day. But does this mean 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, it is going to have the same collectability, a chase card that players want? Well, depending on if those cards are actually played in decks still, if they are still being utilized in all kinds of commander decks or other formats, they may still have a lot of desirability from players. But on the other hand, just like Mox Amber from the Brothers War, you might see a lot of these cards really start losing value, start slipping. As the money moves on, as players move to new flashy things, just like the Neon Ink, players may have spent a lot of money buying the card when it first came out. They may have been lucky enough to open one in a pack and they didn't sell it. Maybe there's not a lot on the market, so it looks like the value is high. But when players put these cards up for sale, if they don't sell at that price point, that's not what they're worth. No different for reserve list cards. Because every serialized card created by Wizards, when I say the long-term value, if they give you a crappy card and serialize it, does that mean it's worth money? Absolutely not. It's a crappy card with a serialized number on it. It means nothing to any player who actually cares about the game. It may have cool artwork, it might be nice to open in a pack, but you know it's worth $10-20 at most, depending on the card, of course. Now, if you look at something like the reserve list, is every reserve list card worth money? Absolutely not. We may love these cards for their artwork. We may have a nostalgic appeal or attraction to some of these cards, but that doesn't mean that these cards are worth money. That doesn't mean they're going to be sought after long term, other than by that few scarce people out there who remember the card. Like all of these, the money will move on. It'll go to other things and it'll flow. And these cards get left in the dust as Wizards moves up to the next thing, the next way of doing it. Now, does that mean 20 years from now these things may not come around again? Absolutely not. I can't determine that, either can you. I can only tell you what I see in the market and how things are moving now, and based on past history of reserve list cards that are collectible, that some of these cards will probably hold value long term, but only if Wizards sticks to it, which means they don't reprint these, they don't bring them back around again, they don't reissue them, then yeah, some of these cards could hold value long term. But most of them are card values for the moment, because even reserve list cards, if I look and I went to a place like 401 Games, I can see the Ramos Dragon Engine serialized for $750. $750. That's what they're selling it for. But like 2 aisles down, you can see Eureka from Legends. Near mint condition for $600. Why would I buy that Dragon Engine when I can buy a Eureka that can actually do something in a deck? See the difference? That's where things are falling apart. This is where things don't really key in. The card has to have playability. If you have to pick between those two and you look at the viability of how they'll be played, you're going to pick Eureka 10 out of 10 every single time. Unless you have some nostalgic appeal or other reason you want that Dragon Engine, you're going to go for a card that can actually be utilized in a deck and have the flex. Because when you have somebody over at your house, you want to be able to show them your collection. And you want that person to understand why they're worth what they're worth. You want them to get it because you're flexing on the money you've spent or the fact you got lucky and opened it. These conversation pieces, and that's what they are. Yes, they're playable. Yes, they're collectible. But the idea that you have some of them and you get to show them off is part of the appeal of collecting. It's not just for you. Often it's for you and for people you enjoy sharing company with. I love having conversations about all kinds of crazy Magic cards, new and old, and having a 10 or 20 person conversation about what's going on. It is amazing to see. But as Wizards continues their agenda, as they bring forward more of these types of serialized cards, I would hope the company will focus in on cards that are going to have a longer term value. Don't give us junk cards and say they're serialized and collectible, because that's not how players are going to see it, and they'll recognize it more and more, and that erodes the belief in your serialized card selection. Also, Wizards has got to tighten up on things when they do when they have that whole thing of, oh, here's 1 of 500, 1 of 250, 1 of 100. They need to standardize how they do their serialized cards. And there's got to be more of a wording, lawyer-wise, to kind of say that these cards won't come back around again, because right now there's nothing saying that. And that really erodes how players feel about the value of their cards. It makes players who open one of these cards want to sell it as fast as they can to get money out of it, because they're afraid it's going to erode, and they're not wrong. They're not wrong in their belief that a lot of these cards are going to erode. Now, other people with higher price means don't really care if they buy one of these cards at top dollar. So if you can sell it at top dollar and be patient and wait 5 years, you might be able to buy these cards back at half the value. That's what a lot of reserve list buyers did. When the market spiked, they sold into the spike, waited for the collapse, and now they're picking up the torn pieces of people who made bad decisions with their money. It's how it is in the world of collectibles. Things go in cycles. The Beanie Baby of the day is serialized cards. It doesn't mean they're not beautiful and awesome. It just means that some of these chase cards, from the Guru Lands to old 7th edition foils to brand new shiny serialized cards, as well as old reserve list cards, to certain players they're always going to have their place, but that doesn't mean that that place involves a lot of money. So keep that stuff in mind. Keep your head on straight. You determine the value you're willing to spend on something, and don't kid yourself into thinking that it can't go to zero. Chances are it's going to go to zero. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me today, guys. Thanks for hanging out on the channel. Don't forget, after the credits, we got a Ramble Jamble section, because we got a little more to say, but I want to let you know, have a great day. And of course, a shout out and thank you to the fantastic patrons we have on the channel, supporting each and every day. Because of these amazing patrons, daily uploaded content is made available to everyone to enjoy. So thanks again. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Welcome back to the Ramble Jamble. Guys, you've made it to the end credits. You're past the scene. Can you believe I rhymed that by accident at the end? I wasn't even thinking. I was like, oh, but it was too late. I'm not taking it back. Have a great day. A lot more to say. It's got to be the holiday spirit. So, it was very interesting to look at all the sales across all kinds of LGSs, as well as eBay, and look at what's selling. Lord of the Rings, doing very well. Doing very well in the serialized market, okay? Seriously. Crazy sales on how much people want those cards and what they're willing to spend to say that they own a piece of that kind of history of the game. Maybe not the most playable cards, but they do want them. But then all kinds of other serialized cards are really dropping off now. Not every single one, of course, but the values are dropping. People are lowering their prices, trying to find out where they fit in the realm of collectability for Magic. And some of these cards haven't even gotten close to finding their bottom yet. So keep an eye on that. Whereas when you look at reserve list cards as a whole, reserve list cards are doing very well. They've had an uptick in sales and an uptick in desirability. Again, mainstays like dual lands, power cards, and mid-range cards, things like Four Horsemen set like Abyss and stuff like that, are all doing very well all of a sudden. And no, it's still a bottom flatline price, no increases in pricing. But the fact they're selling now and more often kind of gives you pause and say, it's funny how people can get attracted to other things for the moment, but when they want actual long-term value and don't feel like they're getting ripped off, these cards have history behind them. They've got a pricing we can look at decade after decade, and players know that that's kind of like the value. Kind of. It can still go up and down, of course, but they just feel like they have a better chance of spending money wisely buying these as opposed to the serialized cards. I'm not saying they're not beautiful or great, same as the Guru Lands or old foils and stuff, guys, but they don't hold that same appeal. And for players who love to proxy stuff, of course you can proxy your cards and have a good time, but there's nothing like owning the real card. I know that from personal experience. Having those conversations when you own the real card as opposed to, oh, you proxied it. Yeah, it's a cool looking proxy. It is a different conversation topic. I'm not saying they don't all have their place in how we play and enjoy the game, but from the collectability standpoint, Players who collect the cards always want the real deal. They want the best condition they can find. In most cases, some of us are just happy to have the real card. But the sales are upticking. And that tells you a lot about where players are willing to spend their money. This year is going to be a crazy year for this stuff. I can't wait to get into 2024 and see Murders at Karlov Manor, see Ravnica Remastered, see these things start to move. It's going to be crazy. So let me know what you guys think. Drop some comments there. Let's have a good time. Hope your holiday is going great. I'm filming this, I guess, on Christmas Day before I go out. So enjoy the day. I hope you guys all had a great holiday. We'll see you guys soon. Ha! All right, man. Boomstick.